Do you want to know more about weathering and detailing your locomotives? Well, stick around and watch this segment and see how we do it on my in-scale model railroad. This error is secondary. Hello everyone, Joe from Central Jersey Conrail and in-scale. Welcome back to the Locomotive Shop. So this time in the Locomotive Shop, we're going to be working on an Alco C630. So, you know, this unit came up for sale on Facebook Marketplace, and, you know, the price was right, and I couldn't pass up the opportunity because, you know, who doesn't love Alcos? So, you know, I've always had a thing for Alcos. I just like their looks and the way they sound. But, you know, I wasn't too familiar with them and all their different models and stuff. So when I got this and I was doing the prep work for this, this video here, I actually did a lot of research. All right, so let's go over a little backstory about the Alcos. So Alco was primarily a steam locomotive manufacturer, and then they introduced the RS1 into the diesel market in 1941. Then with the outbreak of World War II, the Wartime Production Board put a lot of constraints on Alco, which really restricted their development of new diesels. So after the war, the RS1 needed a revamp, so they quickly put together the 244 prime mover, which really wasn't a great product. And then that's when GE decided, hey, we're going to go off on our own because we don't like the way Alco's going. And that was right around 1953. So at that point, that's when Alco knew they had a big problem, and with the 244s weren't selling, so they went back to the drawing board and came out with the 251, which was released in 1956. And of course, you know, sadly, declining sales. They were the number 3 in the marketplace once GE overtook them. In 1969, they ceased locomotive production here in the United States. So that is a quick and dirty history lesson on Alco in like less than 200 words. There's tons of information out there. Go out there, read about it if you're interested, and it's a great little backstory. So now let's start talking about the C630. So to understand the whole evolution, because it's in my mind, like I can tell you all about the GP series, and I understand, you know, what came first and all that. But when it came to the Alco C series, it really confused me, especially the 6-axle units. So what you have to realize is first came the RST-15. That was with the older prime mover. Then once they developed the new prime mover, they moved into the C628. The C628 series is the famous series for the snowbirds. Lehigh Valley had tons of those 628s. So that's what that locomotive is. Then the follow-on model was the C630, and that's the one we're using today. And there was also another model after the C630, which is the C636. So that's kind of the little lineage, you know, grandfather progression down to the C630, so you can understand where we are in the Alco product line. And now this is all just the 6-axle units. There's still a whole nother product line for their 4-axle units. Okay, so the key features that you need to know about the C630 is that it had the 251E prime mover, which was a V16, producing 3,000 horsepower on a 6-axle chassis. It was produced from 1965 and 1968, and 133 were produced, and 15 of those went to the Pennsylvania Railroad. So now that's going to set us up for why it's here in Conrail territory. So for the unit that we're modeling, it's 6770. It had a Pennsylvania Railroad lineage and came through as Penn Central 6320. Now, this unit I actually found like 4 different photos over a time period to kind of put the timeline together, and it was a short-lived time period. In 1977, I saw a picture of it in Collingswood where it was in a fresh paint. It looked like it had just been painted. Skip forward to the next one. I caught another picture out of Toledo, Ohio in 1978, and it was still somewhat clean. By 1979, I got a third photo. I'm not too sure where it was, but it was just beat up dirty. So then the final picture that I found was 1980 somewhere. I think it looked like it may have been the Ohio area. Again, it was super dirty. It looked like it was on its last legs. And then sadly, I found the last photo of it was 1983, and it was at Napo in Newark where it was scrapped. So yeah, very short-lived time period, and that was because Conrail made the determination early on in the final solution that they were going to eliminate all the Alcos. So they right off the bat started nixing all those. And the 630s kind of rode out their time a little longer than most of the other Alcos because they really needed road power. So they were still running good at that point, but they ended up scrapping them. So now the locomotive that we are working with is an Atlas Alco C630. I'm dying to do sound in this, but you know what? I'm going to just put it out in a straight DCC setup, and I'll do a really good weathering job. I really want to focus on weathering this episode, and I got a lot of great ideas. And I'll just put it out and lay out and run it, and if in the future we get an opportunity to put sound in it, we will. Okay, so there you go. There's that leads us up into this video. So why don't you sit back, watch the video, and enjoy, and I will talk to you afterwards. Okay, so let's get started. So we're going to use the Digitrax DN163A0, and that's the recommended decoder from Digitrax. Here's our locomotive. You can see it's brand new, still in the packaging. It's never been opened. I'm going to go ahead and pull that out of there. Don't forget the handrails for the both ends, and we'll get it set up to get started working. So this is another fine example of a locomotive from Atlas for us. Everything looks crisp and clean. We're going to go ahead and pop that shell off and look underneath, and we can see that the chassis looks to be very similar to the other 6-axle units that they sell, just a little modified to fit the shell. So to install this board, you actually have to separate the halves of the chassis because Digitrax's new installation procedure is to stick the brass motor tabs up through the holes in the board. So that's a little change from before. So once you get it in there, it's nice and secure, and then you bend over the tabs. Now if you look right here, you can notice that the rear end of the chassis has no space. That'll become very important later on. Okay, so the board has been installed. Now we're going to go ahead and put together the chassis and button it all up, put the trucks back on, and head over for testing. So this time I decided to do something a little different. I know in previous locomotives I used engine black diluted with alcohol to darken in all the grills and stuff. But I have this Tamiya panel line paint, and I wanted to give it a shot on a locomotive, and really liked it. It works on capillary action. It finds all those panel lines and really gives everything definition. So I'm very happy with the outcome, and I think I'm going to be using this on a lot more locomotives. Okay, so here we are in the spray booth. I got my airbrush set up with some Model-Flex sand. I got it diluted with about 4 drops of alcohol. I'm just going to go over and give everything a light dusting, tone down the black, and kind of just fade out the paint. I'm going to come also do the fuel tank and the trucks as well. So I really wanted to emulate the prototype in its final days, so I decided to go real heavy with the darks, with the soot and the dark colored dirt. And I'm going to go ahead and do multiple applications, because, you know, I have found when I seal it up with the dull coat, it does dull it down a little bit. So I'm going to do about 2 or 3 layers of it in between. And very happy with the outcome. So just sit back and watch. So I came in with some more sand in my airbrush just to like blend everything together and kind of dull it down a little bit. I'm going to come back here with some weathering powders and hit the areas again that I want to really make look grungy, and then I'll seal it up with dull coat. There's the finished product. I'm very happy with it. It's probably one of my better ones that I've done so far, so hope you enjoyed it. Okay, so here we are with the computer. We're going to go ahead and get started programming using JMRI. I switch over to programming track mode, and then I'm going to go in and click new loco. I'm going to go through and search for the decoder manufacturer by using the CV7 function. So as you can see, it doesn't get me there, but it gets me pretty close. So I'm just going to scroll through this list. I'm going to pick our decoder. Then I'm going to go over and select the long address, and I'm going to put in the address for the decoder. We're going to use the cab number 6770. And then I'll make my roster entry by entering my local ID number and hit write. Alright, so for some reason it makes the roster entry, but it doesn't take the change for the decoder address. I'm not sure why. So we're just going to go back in, re-enter it again. I click long address, and then I write it to the decoder one more time, and it actually takes. Anybody out there watching this knows why JMRI does that. maybe I'm doing something wrong on my step, just comment in the comment section. But on the second go around, it took, and the locomotive runs fine. Now I'm just going to go through and just enter all the fields on my roster page, make sure all the data's in, and I'll come back later and put the picture in. I just needed to take the pictures, and that's how you program it. So using JMRI, once you get the hang of it, it goes along pretty easy. All right, everyone, so there you go. Yeah, this unit fought me every step of the way. Oh my gosh. Where to begin? Took it out of the case, dropped in that Digitrax board, which was a really nice board, I must mention. Put it on the layout, and it shorted. I'm like, what's going on here? So I took it back to the bench, and I noticed, hey, wait a minute. Yeah, I realized when I put the board in that the frame was really like close tolerance on the long end, on the long hood towards the rear, and I'm like, I didn't think about it till the short, and I'm like, wait a minute, why is there no gap in the rear? I opened it up, and the spacer in the frame halves was gone, so the two frame halves were touching, and that's why I was shorting. So went to my parts bin because I had some Atlas spacers from other locomotives, and put it in there, solved that problem. So next, put it back on for testing. This is all after we programmed it on JMRI. Put it on the layout. It's just not going. It's just struggling, not really moving. Like, what's going on? So I take a look at it, and I said, it looks really dry. So I took out some conductor lube, put one drop in the worm gear, and it started moving. And same with the other, started moving. So it's moving, but it's not really moving fast. And I got it cranked up to, like, full power, not moving. So I'm like, well, maybe the wheels need to be cleaned or something. So I was running it. It was getting a little better. It was almost like it was in that box for too long. It was too stiff. So as I got it over here to Lakewood, I was cleaning the wheels off, and I noticed that the rear truck wasn't moving. So that goes to the next problem. Back to the bench. Opened it all back up. Took everything out of the frame. And as I'm checking where the drive shaft fits into the rear end of the motor, into the flywheel, it's spinning. The shaft is perfectly fine, but the flywheel is rotating around the shaft on the motor. So I was just like, I don't even begin to know how to fix that. So I was like, you know what? Let's just give it a shot. I'll put a drop of CA on there and just glue it. If it works, it works. If not, oh well, we'll move on. So I let the glue set, and sure enough, yeah, that was the fix. Put it back on, smooth as silk. I broke it in for about another half hour, just letting it run around the layout, and yeah, it was well worth it. So, it was tough. Didn't do any detail work. I did a lot of research just to double check, but the C630s didn't have any cab signal boxes, so I didn't bother with that. Didn't bother with antennas or anything like that, but I did a real good weathering job. Made sure to go ahead and weather up those trucks for you guys, do the tanks, and then did a multiple layers on that shell. I don't know if you could tell from the video. So I started off with doing the panel line from Tamiya. Yeah, that really touched it off, gave a lot of depth underneath. Then I hit that with sand through the airbrush. Then we went on our pastels. I did like 2 or 3 layers of pastels. In between each layer, I kept hitting it with the dull coat, because there's a little tendency with the weathering powders. Now, in the past, I've noticed that it does dull it just a little bit, not too much, but I wanted this unit to look really dirty. It's on its last legs, like it's transiting through here, going up to Newark for scrapping. So I know it's a little before the time period, but I'm going to stick that over there with the U25Cs and the U25Bs. I'm going to kind of have my 1980 roster and my 1988 roster. So I think that's what it is. Because I really love the old stuff. Really starting to like the old stuff. So yeah, that's why I went ahead with it. But the weathering is, I think it really made the unit. It came out really nice. I was very, very happy with it. Okay, so there you go. I think that's all I have for this video. Next time in the locomotive shop, we're going to be working on the GP38-2. I already got it sitting right over there off camera on my workbench ready to go. We're going to be doing sound in that one and a nice weathering job as well. Oh, and it's going to be a repaint because I got to get the Conrail quality logo off. So that's going to put a wrap on this video. If you're seeing this video for the first time, you like what you're seeing, if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to the channel because we'd love to have you follow along. Don't forget to check us out on Facebook and Instagram because we're always posting daily updates of all the status down here in the layout. And otherwise, I'll talk to you next time in the locomotive shop. Thanks. Bye.